She actually came to the school in 1989, and she was the sign language interpreter for one of the young gals that was in my daughter's class. And so my daughter met her clear back in 1989. She went from there to still doing that, but then her talents were being recognized, so she started a sign language class, which my daughter was also a part of. Then I think she said that she was asked to do a Bible class, and then she was asked to do a Shakespeare class, then she was a student government teacher, and from that went on to they started a release program, which was really cool because they had kids from the public schools around that could come and spend time. I'm not sure exactly. How long was it, Sharon, that they were here? An hour? Okay. And they decided to have the high school students work with these kids. And at one point, now my son was asked to do it. He's Mr. Macho, didn't want to like be a role model for anybody, and basically that went against everything, except I think he got out of another class to probably do it, and so he decided he was going to do that. Well, I think at one time Sharon told me she had to leave the class in tears because my son was down on the floor with the kids, interacting, talking about Jesus, and it was a great way for the kids to get a message, but also for the students, the high school students, to actually put feet to their faith and share that. So that was really cool. So Sharon, she was the daughter of a police officer. Police is in her blood, basically, she said. She had a degree in criminology, and she said that when women are in the police force, they're often asked to come and speak to other women or be in a speaking role. So we're in for a treat to hear what she has to share with us.
Having a great day. Good morning. I don't usually sit when I speak, but I had some food poisoning over the weekend. So that nausea stick, I was kind of looking, I'm kidding. Thank you for having me. This is the third time I've been at Damascus. And I know you're looking at me going, what can that old lady with the white hair possibly tell us about keeping our kids safe? I don't know, maybe nothing. But we'll give it a go. I'm so sorry Carol's not here, that she's languishing at home with a black eye and a swollen face, but yet her daughters are here filling their faces as we speak without a care in the world. No one sitting with poor Carol, holding her hand, putting ice packs on her jaw. I'm not saying Carol's a failure as a mother because her daughters turned out this way, but you might add them into your prayers this evening. I'm going to start right off because we got a little bit of ground to cover. You can fill in the spots on the worksheet if you want to. If you don't want to, my feelings won't be hurt. On number one, the first spot is you. You are a lean, mean fighting machine. You're the first line of defense when it comes to your kids, when you've got them out in public. You are your most fierce weapon. Tip of the spear, it's all on you, baby. I know some of you are going, oh, all is lost. And that's not the truth. But I'm going to keep this part short because I don't want you to be mad at me right off the top. I'm basically going to tell you some of the things that Emily shared about being active, about thinking about what you eat. My short version was, look, some of you need to lose weight and some of you need to start moving around a little bit. Not because you want to go down a size in your jeans, not because it's a New Year's resolution, but seriously, you are it when you're out there with your kids. If someone grabs your purse when you're JCPenney's, runs out the entrance and heads through the escalator, can you even chase them as far as the escalator before you're passing out because you can't breathe? If someone grabs your child, you'd get a little further because that adrenaline's going to kick in. But could you chase them far enough to get a good description while you're screaming your head off? I mean, you have to think about it. I think about it, and I'm old. It doesn't have to cost money. You can do, I listed no-cost things like walking, jogging. Half of us have old stationary bikes or rowing machines in our basements that we hang clothes on to dry. You know, things that you already have. You don't need weights. Do you have a couple soup cans? You sit and do 100 repetitions while you're watching TV at night. And I guarantee you, your arms are going to be tired in the morning. Most women lack upper body strength. And sometimes that comes in handy. A lot of you have a lot of upper body strength because you're toting around 40-pound weights all day long. Things to do if you want to do it as a group, you can spend money. You can join a gym. You can, do they still do Zumba classes? Nah. Get a Fitbit. Start counting your steps. I wear an Oura ring and have for 5 years because I don't like stuff on my wrists. And this thing rules my life during the day. If I'm unactive, if I'm not moving around for an hour, I get this little buzz on my phone. Time to get up and stretch. You know, I talk to my phone a lot. You can get your own weights. You can do what you want, but just do something. Just because. Just because. No judgment, no nothing, just do something. If Mrs. Buller were here today, and if she told me there's been a change, you can only pick one more thing off your list for women's safety, thinking about your kids. You can pick one. What would it be? It would be the next one. Be observant. Some people call it situational awareness, which is just a fancy word for saying, hey, look around, pay attention, listen up. And again, in all of this, all these things that we're going to go through, the idea is not to make you scared, that's a blank, it's to make you prepared. It's really important to be aware of your surroundings and trust your gut. If you're into superheroes, trust your spidey sense. You know, that thing that kicks in when you know something is off. Being aware actually helps you start to be prepared because your brain starts to kick in. You know, mayday, mayday, something's not right here. At that point, I usually start to look for an out. I'm a huge look for an out person. Everywhere I go, I look for an out. Part of that is my personality. Part of that is the way I was raised. Having a policeman for a dad. And that just means, like, when you walk into Safeway, I think the first time I was here, a woman asked this question, bless her heart. And we were talking about if something happens in the front of Safeway, it's a fire. You hear gunfire. You hear an explosion. You hear a big fight. How are you going to get out of the store? The doors are in the front. So someone else brought up, well, there's doors in the back. You can go through the produce part and get out the back door. You can go out, you know. And she said, oh, we're not allowed to go back there. I'm giving you permission right now here today. If you're in Safeway and a bomb goes off in the front of the store, don't ask anyone. Grab your child, leave the groceries, and go out through the produce section. You would be surprised if you get in your car and drive around the back of Safeway, there's all these doors back there. I was going to give the example of Dairy Queen, but my heart was crushed when I came up the road and saw that it was closed. When did that happen? Oh, that was my go-to place the whole time I was out here. It's gone. I know. We should have a moment of prayer. The DQ is gone in Damascus. There may be, hi Jess. There you go. There might be a situation where you have to give yourself permission to fight back. And that is one, as women, and especially as Christian women, we all kind of bristle at. Nobody wants to do that. But I know mothers, my own included, if you mess with their kids, something goes off. And you are Xena, Amazon swamp maiden, warrior woman. You might have to give yourself permission to fight back. We're not going to teach karate today. We're not going to teach taekwondo. But I do want you to write down 4 words. Eyes, nose, throat, groin. There aren't spaces for that, but write down those words. Those are your new nursery rhyme lyrics that you are going to rehearse and rehearse. Eyes, nose, throat, groin. You know what happens if you get poked in the eye. You know what happens if you get hit in the nose. A good punch to the Adam's apple, it's amazing. And if you grew up with brothers, you know what the groin is and how effective that can be on any given situation. But you might have to give yourself permission to do that. If you get cornered, if you get stuck and you think, oh, I don't know what to do. For me, I'd shoot them. I used to be a policeman. That's my mindset. Don't break into my house at night. I will shoot you. But you might have to come up with something. You might come up with something even more creative. But those 4 little vulnerable spots, they are very vulnerable spots. And whether you're home or out and about, please put your phone down. Put your phone away. Take the AirPods out of your ears. Truly look around and listen. I had a sergeant that used to always say, peruse the perimeter, which just mainly says, look around. Does anything seem off? What's making you feel uncomfortable? Is someone staring at you? You know, what is that thing? But take a minute to recognize it. That's a valuable insight that you have, that something's making you feel uncomfortable and nervous. While you're looking and listening, this always happens in the grocery store, you hear a small child just start to scream bloody murder. And my mind goes to, oh, it's nap time. Oh, somebody didn't get lunch. But you all know when the scream sounds a little different. Especially if the scream is followed by somebody saying, this is not my dad. You know, call 911. I don't know this person. You see a couple people at the park or at the playground standing over kind of off to the side and you don't recognize them and they look like they're having a heated discussion. No, they're fighting. They're starting to fight. We had that happen one day down here on the playground when I was here. I was up here on the steps because I was doing after-school pickup with Mr. Oakley, and a couple cars pulled in down at the bottom, and these guys got out, and they just started wailing on each other. And I just took off running because I am one of those. And I get halfway down the parking lot, and I hear Mr. Oakley, Miss Nelson, stop! And in my brain, I'm thinking, I don't listen to you. I'm hired by this family to interpret for their daughter. I don't have to. But he just kept yelling, and I slowed my pace because I thought, okay, can he fire me? I went through this whole process because these people are fighting on the playground, and there's kids out there. Practice sizing people up when you're looking at them, when you see them out someplace. If you don't really know, they're not really carrying a machine gun and look like they're going to kill somebody, but something about them. So take a minute to look at them. Well, he's 6'4", he's got blonde hair, he's wearing red Converse tennis shoes, and he's wearing an orange sweatshirt. That's all. Make your brain, if you have to say it out loud to yourself, do it. Go through the process of saying, that person just doesn't fit. You might not ever need it again. Or you might see on the news that evening that something happened, and if anybody has information and you go, oh, I don't know if I should call, I did see that guy, he didn't fit. Call. It could be something. They don't mind if you call. Get familiar with your routine in your neighborhood. Just listed a few things for being aware and being observant. Do you know your neighbors? Some of you might live down a 3-mile road into the scary part of the woods. Some of you have neighbors. Do you know your neighbors? 1 or 2 of them at least. When do they go to work? Who works days? Who works nights? What kind of car do they drive? That purple van's been parked in front of their house for 2 days, and every time I look, somebody's carrying out a TV or a computer, or that sure doesn't look quite right. And then, if you want to go above and beyond, write down the license number. You might never need it. I have a little notebook in my car. It's full of random license numbers and car descriptions that I've never needed, but for however many years I've had that little notebook, I have quite a few in there. Who knows? If you see mail piling up on their front porch, 17 Amazon packages, you might want to go knock on the door and make sure Mrs. Buller is okay. She hasn't picked up her mail, and she's got all this stuff on her front porch. Just be observant. Just start making yourself look around and look at things. And you can teach your kids to be observant. Play games with them. When we would go out as a family to go shopping, my brother and I did not like to get out of the car and go shopping with Mom, so we'd stay in the car with Dad. Sometimes it was the police car, sometimes it was our family car that looked like the Batmobile that had a siren on it that had to be removed because my mother thought it was fun to buzz her friends in downtown Ferndale where I grew up. So Dad took it away, but that's a different story. But we would sit in the car with Dad, and Dad would say, who do you see coming out of the store? Who do you see? And, oh, that's Mrs. Ryder. She's my second grade teacher. Yep, you're right. You saw it. Then a few other questions about other things, and then he'd circle back to, what was Mrs. Ryder wearing today? If my sister were in the car, she would tell you she had on a pink blouse with little yellow flowers because she was into shopping and clothes. My brother would say, clothes. But I would catch on to the game, we all caught on to the game, where we started to really look at things. Or he'd flip the rearview mirror and he'd say, what color is the car that's following us? And it was just a forever game that we played. When I used to take my nephews on in the car with me up and down I-5, up to Grandma and Grandpa's house, I would play mile markers with them. During that time, I was convinced I was probably going to have a heart attack and die at an early age. I won't tell you all the reasons why. But every time we'd pass a mile marker, I'd say, what was the mile marker we just passed? And they were just right on it. Which exit did we just pass? So they, some of them would get it, some of them wouldn't. All keeping in mind that they know how to dial 911. How are they going to tell somebody on the freeway where we are? So just weeks ago, one of my nephews said, you have no idea how scared we were every time we got in the car with you because we thought you were going to have a heart attack. I don't care. They watch mile markers now. Moving into that one, some of the things to teach your kids. I know some of your kids are little tinies, but it's never too early to start to teach them things. Start to teach them about their surroundings. When you go down to the playground after school with Ashley, with Emily, with her children, and leave them out there in the cold while they're sitting in the car drinking their coffee, before they get out of the car, just stop for a minute and say, does everything look safe to you? It's not scary. It's not, just, how's it look to you? Do you see anything out there that, does it look safe? Let them look. Let them tell you. Praise them highly for the time that they're putting into that. Review the boundaries before you let them out of the car. Okay? Don't go on the freeway to chase the ball. Don't go over here. Don't go, whatever the rules are. Just go over the boundaries, go over the rules, and then don't you take your eyes off those kids. Don't be on your phone. Oh, Jesse. The next one I have down is obey or freeze. And I will admit that I was thinking about my dog with this one. When you have a puppy, you teach them not to go out in the road. When you have little children, you teach them not to go out in the road. In our family, we did freeze. Some word and the tone of your voice that stops that little one from running into danger. I spend a lot of time with a almost 2-year-old, and we're trying to learn freeze because we did freeze with his daddy. On Christmas Day, and these nephews that I'm referring to are now 36, 34, and 32. On Christmas Day, we do a white elephant thing. And this year we had extra people, we had extra kids, we had extra dogs, and it was chaos. And instead of having them, you know, on a nice table, we just heaped them in the middle of the floor and draw numbers and, you know. But there were people who didn't know the rules, and everybody's trying to explain everything else. And I was getting a headache and just wanted to go home. And so I just yelled, "Freeze!" And without missing a beat, the 36-year-old struck a pose because that's what he always did as a child. So he's doing. The middle one just looked at me like, "Really? We're doing this?" And the youngest one stopped and then on purpose just fell over. So we just started to laugh, and I thought, you know what? We've been playing this game with these guys since they were 2. You know, freeze, and everybody would freeze. Jacob does a pose, Levi stares at you like he'd rather be somewhere else, and Seth would stop and then fall over just to be funny. But teach them to hear that word and understand when they jump out of the car and they start to run towards danger, when they hear you yell stop, or they yell free, or you yell freeze, or whatever your word is, that they know to respond. Depending on their age, you need to teach them their first and last name, and you need to teach them your first and last name. Well, your name is Mommy. What's the big deal? They need to know your first and last name. As they get a little bit older, you can teach them your address. Where do you live? Add in your phone number. And usually another trusted adult. My grandpa lived next to a Thriftway. So I didn't know his address, but I knew that Grandpa Nelson lives by Thriftway. So anybody could look up the name and do they live in the vicinity of the Ferndale Thriftway, and that was probably my grandpa. But give them a third person that they can call if they can't get hold of you. Teach them who the safe people are in their life, and introduce them to these safe people. Introduce them to a policeman. I love Josh Buller. I call him Edwin. I love that boy. And I pray for him probably every night after I watch the evening news and what's happening in downtown Portland. I pray for Joe. You know, bless their hearts. But when you see Josh at church, he's usually up here doing music. He's not in his uniform. I don't know if you can, do showings by the Buller home and just have him sit on the front porch in his uniform some afternoon and take your kid by to see them and maybe get a cookie or something. But introduce them to a uniformed police officer. You can go into a police station and, hey, can I help you, ma'am? Well, I would like to introduce my child to a policeman and let them know that policemen are our friends. Is there anyone here who can help me? You bet. Same thing with the fireman. Walk into a fire station, my child would like to meet a fireman. How about the lady at the grocery store that you visit with while you go through the checkout line? This is Jody. Look, she has on her name tag that says Jody, and maybe she's got on some kind of uniform. A person in uniform in a store is a safe person. And if all else fails, another mom with kids. If they can't find you and they start to panic, if they see another lady with 6 kids draped over her grocery cart, run to that lady. She will take care of you. And these, no special order in these next few things, but stranger danger is still real. I think maybe more now than ever before. You teach them about boundaries. Don't leave the yard. Don't climb the fence without an adult knowing. Don't eat anything offered by a stranger. Food, aspirin, a drink. Boy, just no. That's just a no. I don't care if it's your best friend and she's fishing something out of a baggie to give you because you started your period or you have a headache. No. No, sorry. And that one, I don't care if you scare your kids a little bit. That's just not what we do. It's just not what we can do anymore. You can teach them to yell, run, and tell. Yell no. Besides just screaming their heads off and crying, yell no. Run somewhere where it's safe. Tell the first person that they can trust. You can teach your kids that they don't always have to talk to every adult. This one's hard because we want our kids to be polite. We want our kids to be civilized. But they don't have to always talk to every adult that approaches them, especially if it's a stranger, especially if it's someone that they don't know. I hate the stories where adults approach kids out in public and say, I don't know where the bathrooms are. Can you show me? Something they can do. They're so proud. Yes, they can do it. We don't want them to. I'm looking for I can't find the dog food. Do you know what aisle the dog food is on? Because they've already looked in your cart and see that you have a bag of dog food in your cart. Can you tell me where the dog food is? Do you know what aisle that's on? Oh, they would so much love. And the one I hate more than anything is showing a child a picture of a puppy and saying, I can't find my dog. Can you help me? What kid isn't going to go help? I would probably go help. I'm a dog person. But I hate that one the most. Adults don't usually need to ask small children any questions. If you're not around, there's no reason an adult should be approaching your child to ask them a question. Don't give out information over the phone when they're old enough to answer the phone. I don't know if you've all got older kids at home besides all these cute little people. But, you don't answer the phone and say, if someone says, is your dad there? No, he's not here right now. We don't say that. We say he can't come to the phone right now, which is a universal sign for he's in the John. Well, my mommy can't come to the phone right now. One of my nephews told was just a sales call, but asked for his dad's phone number, and he was probably 12 at the time, and he said, my dad says to give me your number and he'll call you right back. Just a sales call, but he had it down. Teach them that it's okay to listen to that little voice inside, which we talked about when you pull up to the playground and say, does everything look safe to you? Because you'd be surprised that there will be things that they see that give them pause. Encourage that, fan that, even maybe set up some practice things to see if they would pick it up themselves. But encourage them to use their voices. Older kids, all I wrote down was internet, period. You got to figure out in your own family, does your 9-year-old really need access to the internet? Does your 12-year-old boy really need access to the internet? I was so excited when I saw Australia is not letting children under, 15, 16 have access to the internet. And anytime I see a school announcing that kids can no longer bring cell phones to school, well, my child might need it. No, your child will be fine. There's a bunch of adults at the school. They've all got their cell phones. If we need to call you, we'll call you. When people like Bill Gates, the CEO of YouTube, the head of Google, the head of Apple, even Prince William and Princess Kate have said they won't let their kids have access to the internet. And as far as I know, these are not people that walk with the Lord, that are trying to follow hard after Him and raise their kids that way. These are the people who know that these little minds maybe don't need to be on the internet. They can have a flip phone, they can text and call, especially when they start going different ways for sports and you can't keep track of everybody. But, simple things like we don't take our phones to bed with us. We don't take our computers to bed with us. We don't take our iPads to bed with us. Everything stays someplace else. Reduce your chance of being a victim. This is for just you, not especially your kids, just you. In Titus, it says 1 verse 2, but it's actually 1 and 2. I've been in Titus lately, and I'm surprised to see how many times it says, be sensible. Here are all these things, you know, old men, be this, and this, and be sensible. Old women, do this, and this, and be sensible. Young men, I think be sensible is the second one in the list, which makes sense. But be sensible. Often as women, and not just because you're mothers, but women in general, we get into mission mode. You've got your list. You've got 23 minutes, and barring some cow walking out in the road in front of you as you're driving, you're going to accomplish everything on that list in your 23 minutes. You need to just slow down a little bit. Try to avoid mission mode. Think about where you're going, what you're going to need. Please keep your phone charged before you head out. As Emily said a little while ago, eat something to keep your blood sugar up. Hydrate so your brain works. Oh, but then I'll have to go to the bathroom. I'm sure you can find one. Dress practically. Because of where I live, I have the opportunity of picking people up at the Portland airport often. And over Christmas, I made a couple airport runs, and I like to go in and I like to greet people when they come through. I don't like to just pick them up at luggage. How anticlimactic is that? I like to be there and welcome them home from their journeys. I was amazed at how many women came through that exit area in heels that were this big. They looked stunning, but my brain goes to, really? What if you had to run? I mean, if you get off your plane on the econ course now, that's a 10-minute walk to come up to the gate, which several people are quite upset about. But those heels and some of the outfits, God bless them, they looked lovely. They could be in Vogue magazine, but really? You've just been on a metal cigar tube for however many hours. You've got to hike 3 miles now from where your plane lets you off to come back out here, where I don't know where you're going, but dress practically and wear wise shoes. Purses. Last time I was here, we did a thing here in the sanctuary, and it was in the evening, and I just, off the top of my head, spur of the moment, said, ladies, stand up and pick up your purse. So pick up your purse and hold it the way you would hold your purse. So I had, 1,000 different varieties. Statistically, the safest way to carry a purse is the strap over your neck and on your side. And if it's small enough that you can fit your jacket over, perfect. It needs to be zipped. It needs to be snapped shut. I do not carry a purse. I came out of the womb this way. I've never had a purse except for on Easter Sundays when my mom would dress my sister and I alike, and we had the little white wicker purses. I carried a Kleenex and one of those little troll dolls with the hair. That's what I carried in my purse. I just don't. Today I brought the flyers in my Mariner backpack, but I just don't. But most of you do. So be smart about it. When you go to a restaurant, if you go out in public, don't hang your purse over the back of your chair. That's just a neon sign saying, take me, take me, take me, take me. So put it somewhere safe. Hold it on your lap, put it between your feet, whatever, but don't hang it over the back of your chair. This is a big one, ladies. Do you really need every credit card that you own in your wallet at all times? Do you really need every single credit card that your family possesses on you all the time? Think about where you're going. Think about what you're doing. You know, you got your debit card, and then take a major credit card. Yeah, you got your debit and take a credit card. But I might stop at Kohl's. Then use one of those two, or go back later with your Kohl's credit card. Don't carry everything that you own on you, because if your wallet goes missing, you know what a headache that is. I'd recommend, if you haven't already done this, that you go home sometime in the next few days, get a piece of paper, and list every credit card you own, the credit card number, and the phone number that you need to call if it's lost or stolen. Just make a list of all those credit cards, even ones you hardly ever use or don't think you'll ever use again, which then why is it in your wallet in the first place? But make a list of every credit card, the credit card number, and the phone number, who to call in case of an emergency. That way you don't have to go through files looking for past bills. It's all right there in one place that you can grab easily. If you're going to leave to go someplace, tell somebody. Well, that's silly, I'm just running to the store. I don't care, just tell somebody. Well, I live alone. I don't care, leave a note. Why? Because if something happens and you don't show up for dinner, and where is mom? We don't even know where to start. Oh, there's a note on the table that says, 10:15, Randa Safeway. But I live alone. It doesn't matter. I don't leave notes, I text. I actually have 4 very good friends, and we totally abuse the Find Friends function on our iPhones. We stalk each other. When we know people are in different situations, we will send random texts just because we can. But we know where we are. We know when people leave. You know, if somebody leaves my house, I say, send me a text when you get home, especially if they're single. Send a text when you get home. When I'm watching my little almost 2-year-old and his mama picks him up, I'll say, send me a text when you get home. Just, it's a safety thing. But let somebody know where you are. Tell your spouse, write it on the calendar, leave a note on the table. Have someone stalk you on Find Friends. I can put you on my Find Friends list if you'd like, and give you the full treatment. Before you leave your house, thinking in terms of how to keep yourself safe, how not to be a victim, look around your house before you leave. Be positive that you turned off your curling iron. Be positive that you locked the door. Just take a final look. Look outside and think, there's a paneled van blocking my driveway. I can't see who's inside. Don't go out then. Wait a little while. You know, just peruse the perimeter. Is it safe to go? Be positive that you lock up. As you go to get in your car, look in the back seat. Push down your trunk. You'd be surprised how many times people have crawled into a person's trunk and they just hold it lightly closed. So from my dad, I learned when he walks around the car, he just pushes on the trunk, he looks in the back seat, we get in the car, we go. When you get in the car, lock the car doors. No brainer, most of us already do that, or our cars do it for us because they figured out we weren't smart enough to do it. You can pump your own gas now in Oregon. Don't leave your wallet in your purse on the front seat when you get out to pump your gas. If you go to an ATM, please don't go at night. But if you have to, be sensible while you're there, while you're doing it. I have, on more than one occasion, gotten out to use an ATM and felt that feeling and kind of looked around and something's not making me comfortable, and had a person next to me who just got out of the car with his wife and his kids and just said, would you mind waiting until I'm done? Just to be out here. I don't care. I'm not proud. You know, there's where I live in Portland, it's not, I'm usually home by 4 o'clock. I don't like to be out after night in my hood. And, but sometimes if I haven't had a chance to walk, I'll go for just a short walk or shorten the walk and do it a couple times. There's been times in my neighborhood I have gone up to a neighbor's house and knocked on the door and said, Dan, would you mind walking me home? Absolutely. No questions asked. Don't be, I guess the word would be too proud to ask for help if you feel that feeling. If you go to an ATM at night after you take out money, check your rearview mirror a couple times on your way home. If somebody just saw you take out a wad of cash, just check. Go home a different way. I'm not saying there's a boogeyman behind every bush, just precautions. I had down, don't give money to the homeless that are out on the corners. And then I thought, no, I'll cross that out. Because right underneath it I have written down, compassion is stupid. And as believers, we're not supposed to say compassion is stupid. But sometimes, ladies, compassion is just stupid. I have a friend that works in an office that has a huge front porch on it. And her boss would allow a homeless man and his woman to sleep on that front porch as often as they wanted to. The boss lady was not ever the first one to go to work in the morning. My friend was the first one to get to the office every morning, and to have to literally step around these people to get to the front door because the boss wanted to show them the love of the Lord. Compassion is stupid sometimes. Well, I caught wind of that, and my personality spoke out. And so my friend started calling the non-emergency number when she'd get to her office in the morning if those people were out there saying, I'm by myself, I don't feel comfortable, these people are on the porch. They finally caught the people, and the guy said, I'm so glad you called. We've been looking for him for a long time. He's one of the main dealers in this area. This is in North Portland. And for months, these 3 women had been stepping around this person on their front porch because we want them to come to know Jesus. Be sensible. Leave a 4 spiritual law thing on the floor and just keep going. But really, be sensible, be thoughtful. If you want to give money to these poor individuals, give it to the Union Gospel Mission. Give it to the Red Cross. Give it to the Portland Rescue Mission, where you know the money is actually going for something good. How to defend your castle. Nehemiah 4:9 says, but we prayed to our God, and because of them who? The bad guys, we set up a guard against them day and night. Some of you might have spouses that work in the evenings, and you know how much your house creaks. You hear every little bump. You hear when the refrigerator clicks on and off. Get to know your house so you know what sounds your house. I was convinced for years that I was living on top of a sinkhole, you know, and I'd seen sinkhole stories on the news about Florida and would truly just be waiting because the earth is going to open and it's going to swallow my house. Because the people next door had a swimming pool that they didn't take care of, so they drained it, and now it's just this open hole, which is now full of rainwater and full of mosquitoes. And there are some weeds that are taller than my house, which I'm really quite interested in finding out what those are, because I've never seen anything that big before. But I thought, okay, if it goes, it's sucking my house right down with it. So it took me a few months, this was when I first moved in, to get used to the fact that I'm not going to be swallowed by a sinkhole. But your house makes sounds when you're there by yourself. It makes sounds when you're there not by yourself. You have to plan on freaking out, and followed by an immediate adrenaline rush. It is okay to freak out. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're small. It just means you're normal. Plan on, give yourself 30 seconds, freak out. And then you get this surge to do something. You're not quite sure what to do, but you know you need to do something. The FBI statistics say that most break-ins happen during the day. So while you're here right now, rest assured your house is probably being broken into. No. Most of them happen in the summertime because would-be intruders, would-be burglars are a bunch of weenies, and they don't like to be out there when it's wet and cold. And mostly they want to break in to steal your stuff so that they can pawn it, so they can sell it to pay for their habits that they're on. So they're not specifically coming to look for you, to ravage you, to steal your children, to set your house on fire. There are people out there like that, but mostly it happens in the daytime, it happens in the summer, and they're just looking for your stuff. Protect your house by making it a little bit less appealing from the street. You want these guys, when they drive by on their paneled van with blacked out windows with everything they own in the world shoved in it, you want them just to drive past your house. They go by your house and go, nope, not easy. Nope, not easy. Bingo. You want a clear view of your windows from the street. You know, visually, can you see everything instead of having a big rhododendron that's covering your whole front window, which is where they could get behind and break out the glass that no one would ever be the wiser. You want it well lit. Porch lights on the front, porch lights on the back. You might want to invest in some motion lights. You could do solar lights, which don't work as great here in Oregon in the wintertime, but solar lights are a possibility. Some people get fake window stickers. The house I live in, I shouldn't tell you this because then you're all going to come rob me blind, but the house that I'm living in right now had an alarm system that I couldn't get shut off. And if you bumped one of the panels, it would go off, and you know, the commies are coming. China has landed, life is over. And I couldn't shut it off. So I finally just called the company and said, I just want to disconnect this. I'm a new owner. I don't want this on the house. It would set off the alarm. It wouldn't go to the company, but the alarm still would go off. But the stickers are still on my windows. I left the stickers all still on my windows. You could put a sign on your gate that says, beware the dog. Maybe you got a cat. Beware the dog. The other one I wrote down, kind of tongue-in-cheek, is, you know, get a dog or get some geese. I am petrified of geese. There was a lady in the neighborhood where I grew up who did not have guard dogs. She had Mike and Jeff. They were geese, they were mean, and I have more than one scar on my posterior compliments of Mike and Jeff. They're nasty creatures. But it was an upgrade from the rock salt that she used to shoot at us when we would cut across her field. I have a friend who is single, and on her, you go in off her back porch, and there's a little mud room that she always leaves the light on, and in that mud room are a pair of dirty men's work boots and the biggest dog dish that she could find that she keeps water in. So if you look through that back door, you just assume there's some big burly guy that lives there, and he's got a dog. Okay, simple little things. The idea is to be smarter than they are. Now that it gets dark, like at 12:15 every day in the winter, you can close your blinds. You don't need to leave your blinds open when it's dark out. You don't need to advertise who's at home. You know, go ahead and pull your blinds. On one of my windows, well, I'll get there. Some little easy things you can do. Put a peephole in the front door. Not expensive, easy to put in. You don't open your door at night unless you know who's out there. You should have deadbolts on your door. Again, not expensive, easy to put in. Some nice man at church can do it if your husband is more artsy than mechanical. I have screen doors, so my screen doors lock. Some people have security systems, Ring cameras. I have one called Blink, super cheap. Got it on my front door, so when I am at work on Wednesdays, I will announce the mailman's at my house. And if I want to, I can push the little button and talk to the mailman. But this is a new mailman, so I haven't gone that far. But when my friends come to my house, and if they get just about next to my car, I'll push the button and say, "Get away from my car!" Just to see them jump. It's really quite wonderful. So, and it's not expensive. That cost me $99, and I pay $3 a month just for the service that comes to my phone. So not a real high-end thing. On one of my windows that looks out of the side of my house, all you can see out there are my garbage cans. So I got some of that. It's like, what's that? Contact paper, but it's see-through. And it looks like, you know, designs on the glass. So you can put that up on an outdoor window if you don't want somebody looking in. You can still get light. You can still see movement. You just can't see who's on the other side, and they can't see you. I like the lamps that turn on by themselves. Right now on Amazon, you can get 2 for $9.99. You know, just have them come on at random times, making it look like somebody's home. At my house, I leave my TV on. I don't leave it on Fox News because in my neighborhood, that would guarantee a rock through my window. So I usually put it on the Western channel, but I have the TV on, so it looks like somebody's in my house, which now again, you all know. So if you come to my house, I will know you're there from the Blink camera, but nobody's home. Emergency information written down in a few places in your house. This worked better when we didn't all have cell phones, because if you needed to use the phone and the phone is in the kitchen, you put it right by the kitchen phone. Or mom and dad had it in their bedroom next to the other phone that was in the house. But you want the emergency information written down in a stationary place. You want your address. Well, I know where I live. No, you won't. They're going to say, where are you? It's not going to be in your head because you're too busy still freaking out and having that adrenaline pump for your brain. Write down your address, write down your phone number, write down numbers like your doctor office, your vet, a neighbor that you trust, but have them in a permanent location where you can find it and where your kids can find it. I've said a couple different times, make sure your phone is charged when you're home by yourself. Don't live in the red. You know, when the battery goes down and there's the little red, don't live in the red. Plug that sucker in so you've got it if you need it in the night. Make an emergency plan and share it with your family. Think through different scenarios. If the house catches on fire, what's the plan? If you live in a 2-story house, you have one of those funky little ladder things that you can hook on the window and everybody crawl out. Okay, then where's everybody going to meet? Have you ever tried going down one of those funky little ladders outside a window? If you have one, you should try it at least once so that you know what they actually feel like and how secure you actually don't feel while you're going down. The kids will think it's great fun. The kids are used to fire drills, so you should have and practice a fire drill in your house. Having an intruder come into your house is a little bit different, but you still need to have a plan, and you still need to practice the plan. Some people use or have in their house a safe room. In my house, I have a back door off of my bedroom, and in the second bedroom there's also a way out, because the lady that owned the house before, it did catch on fire, and she and her elderly mother had a terrible time getting out of the house. So when she had it rebuilt and added on a little bit, she put back doors on. So I have my out. But if you don't have an out, having a safe room is not a bad idea. And all you need is a room that's got a piece of furniture in it that's kind of heavy that you can slide in front of the door. Because at this point, all you're trying to do is buy yourself some time. My favorite security device is the simple little hook and eye. You know, you screw the little round eye into one thing, and then you've got the hook dangling over here, and you just hook. We used to just have it on the screen door kind of thing, but I use one. I actually use 2. I've never used the one in my room, but I use one that goes out through my laundry room and into the garage. Is it gonna keep anybody out? No, but it's gonna buy me a couple seconds. You can't just open the doorknob and come in. It'll buy a couple seconds. It just hangs there. It's not bothering anybody. So I'm a big proponent of hook and eyes. Practice with the kids. You can make it fun, but they need to know that it's serious. You can have a code word. Let them pick the code word. In my family growing up, it was tuna fish. I don't know why, But our code word growing up in my little town was tuna fish. So in the middle of the night, if we heard tuna fish, we knew we went to mom and dad's room. That was our safe room. That's where we could call 911 and stay put. So if you don't have an out, if you don't have an escape route, if you can't get out, safe room, stay put, call 911 and wait. You basically want to avoid confrontation because, again, they are mainly just there to get your stuff. Make a plan, practice the plan. Do it for fires, do it for break-ins. I'm a huge proponent for fire drills and intruder drills at church. At my church in Gresham at East Hill, we have never had a fire drill and we've never had an intruder drill, but we have a pretty large armed force that's in attendance for most services. There are companies that go around and train churches to have fire drills. And what would you do with an intruder if somebody came in through the back doors? As moms, you're all going to freak out because your kids are downstairs. How do I get my kids? Forget me. How do I get my kids? But for you as an individual, think through. What would you do? You can't get out there. Where are you going to go? Well, you could go here. You could go here. You could go out through, I don't know if it's still the kindergarten classroom back there because Dairy Queen's gone now, so my whole world's upside down. But there's other ways out of the sanctuary. And above all, to continue just to be sensible. On the back, I have some questions. Let's see how we're doing here with. I have some questions, but before I turn you loose to do those, if you choose to do those, I just want to say something. In a group of women like this, I'm not so naive to think everybody's doing great. Everybody's doing so well this morning. We come to church, we tend to put on a smile, and our world's in the toilet. And I would just encourage you as you look at each other around the table, because you all know each other, you know your strengths and your weaknesses. If you need some extra help, whatever the issue is, thinking in terms of victimhood and safety, and you're ready to ship everybody off, or the car is loaded and you're leaving now for Arizona by yourself and not telling anyone where you're going, you didn't leave a note. Talk to each other. You know, men always talk about, this band of brothers. Well, I'm sorry. I think by and large, the band of sisters in the Lord is so much stronger than those stupid boys. They will die for each other. They'll throw themselves on the ground for each other. But you guys are in the muck of it every day with how many lunches you did or didn't make and are confused and obviously a little mentally off. And need some help. I'm not mentioning any names. But, make eye contact with each other. Remind each other that you're good moms. Make sure that you know that each other is there for you. Those of us that have a little bit of gray in our hair, those of us that have grown kids, they've been there, they've done that several times. Ask them. What'd you do? Or just tell somebody you need a little extra prayer this week. You don't even have to say what it's for. Just don't carry it at home by yourself. Okay, we close in prayer and let you do these questions if you'd like. Father, thank you for today. We pray for Carol, that you would give her healing and a quick recovery. There would be no infection. Help her kids to be more mindful. I ask that you would bless these ladies as they go about their day with their schedules and their lunches and their meal preparations and trying to keep their kids safe and doctor's appointments and vet appointments, and the list just goes on and makes me weary just thinking about it. Bless them indeed. Cover their backs. Give each one of them a special little blessing from you today and help them to see that it was indeed from you. Thank you for this time. Go with us the rest of the day. In Jesus' name, amen.